Off we go. Hello, good evening, good morning. Hello, everyone. Happy to welcome Scott Kiloby here. Is this right pronunciation, Scott?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, there is an excitement here. I'm excited. I'm not going to hide that. Because for a long time there was no energy here to record the videos, and on this channel, probably you don't know, but this channel started with recordings or with videos, chats with a lot of people, which has this awakening or this non-dual realization, if you want to put it like that. And yeah, the recordings, I was doing these recordings while not long after the shift was happening. So, you know, there is this honeymoon and there is like, oh my goodness, there is no one here. I'm not responsible for anything. And wow, this is just life happening and so forth. And eventually, a year or two later, it started becoming like obvious that, yeah, this is just the surface. Like we barely scratch the surface with that. So thanks first for accepting the invitation and showing up here.
My pleasure to be here. Sounds like a topic that will be interesting to me.
Nice. So how to start? Yeah, what is like to be Scott in your daily life? Like how life shows up for you?
Well, now I live alone in a studio apartment. I just got divorced not too long ago. And well, I'm still actually kind of with my partner. But anyway, I live alone in a very simple way in a studio apartment. I won't say where in what city. My life is simple. It's very simple. I have a dog. I don't have any kids. Right now, I'm actually having the best time of my life because of some work that I've done for myself that frees me up, I think, to sort of do what I want more. And that's what I'm doing now. Is I'm actually, in terms of the teaching that I'm doing, I'm really, really doing more of just what I want to do. The work that I've done allowed me to do that. And so now I'm just exploring that. And this is a fun time in my life when I get to explore this newfound freedom and, you know, just carve out a new life in a way, because it's changed me. The work that I've done recently has changed how I look at this whole thing, spirituality, healing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What is spirituality? What is like to, why someone is drawn to spirituality? Or why someone starts seeking? So maybe eventually we are all seekers at a certain point of our lives. We are drawn to something. We don't know what this is, but yet there is this longing for something.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the other non-dual teachers have, and others have put it in very eloquent words, that we're suffering and we're looking for ourselves. That's about the best way to say. But I might say it a different way. I might say that if I were to go into more detail around it, the way that I see it is we had unconscious parents. And that's a big part of it, because we didn't know when we were kids, we didn't understand how to like really just be ourselves. We were developed into these little creatures that have these programs that are self-protective. And I feel like a lot of that is like that childhood stuff, we never shake it. And we're sort of living within that conditioning as we get older. And that conditioning is not what we are. And it's really painful. And what I've learned since then is there's trauma and repression wrapped up into it, really hidden. And so even as we awaken, we might not get to the trauma and repression.
Exactly.
That's what I've learned. Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of things, like you said, I've heard you saying like a lot of shit stays. Like it stays. It doesn't go anywhere. Just because this belief is no more there doesn't mean that the conditioning won't still play. And it's like moving. I have noticing this, not only in my experience, but with the people I've met, like it's driving, the conditioning is driving you through life.
Yeah, even post-awakening, we still have that many of us, where there's a lot more freedom. Obviously, you were explaining your experience where there's a lot of freedom in that, of course. But then there's some other things we have to contend with, aren't there, in the body that we discover. And I think that's what I've discovered is that there's definitely ego programming hidden in the body that was still having me respond and react in certain ways, even from the clarity, strangely, from the presence, I was still responding and reacting in certain programmed ways. And that's what I had to go look at more closely instead of just recognizing that I'm that in which it all happens, which is helpful. There's something else going on that I had to look at because the suffering wasn't just that, or that I don't know how to say it exactly, but the freedom from the suffering is not just the recognition of the awareness, unless that's really embodied. And I don't meet a lot of people who actually have that recognition that's really embodied from the beginning. And I think that's the confusion because many of us are in the spiritual search, but we don't have the people who've been living the life for a while, talking to us enough about what that's like. And so many of us kind of aimlessly wander after the awakening, like we think that's the end, but it's not. And we don't have anywhere, like nobody's talking to us about now what, like what happens now. So I guess that's why we're talking about it today.
Yeah, definitely. And this is why I still there is this interest to explore more, to see, but it's not possible to be only that. Like it's like you said, like when you recognize the awareness of when you recognize that you are what this is basically, and then what? But many of us stay here, like, and keep pointing from that position.
Yeah.
And triggers still happening, and anything operates, anything is there.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I'm talking about all the time is how these triggers and these things continue and why. Like why, if this is the answer, if this is the whole answer to recognize your true nature, then why do those things continue for so many people? And that's a question that really I don't think gets answered very well. No, because nobody really has a good answer for it. If you ask teachers, they'll
I've heard
say,
many answers. There is no one here, like, who bothers? Like, I don't mind my trauma. I don't have trauma. There is no one to have trauma. I've heard that. I've heard that not once or twice,
Well, the way I see that is if a teacher hasn't had trauma, if the people that are coming to the teaching have trauma, the question is whether the teacher can meet those people. That's the first question. And the second question is, how do you not have trauma if you're a human being? That's my second question. How do you not have developmental trauma? Is it could be that you don't know what developmental trauma is, but like if you think about it, it's just like that story of not being good enough that might sneak in every now and then, even with teachers. That's it, that thing. But if they just say, well, that's just my conditioning coming and going, then they might even not even pay attention to the fact that that comes from trauma. So they would easily dismiss it then. They would not see that it has roots in, are they not concerned with the roots of that in childhood? And they just think of it as this story that comes up here to no one. But we've learned that that story has roots, deep roots in the body for a lot of us. That story and a lot of other things has really deep roots in the body. And I think that's the miss in teaching, because a lot of us have experienced that me feeling that remains in the body. And again, we get unsatisfactory answers around that. Generally.
A lot of things, a lot of thoughts are coming here, like to ask, to share, but let me just
Go ahead.
That's why I've heard you say some in some of your videos, which I admire so much, that when someone sits with some teacher for a while and then realizes, like, oh my goodness, there's nothing that I imagine is here, and then something stays, something is in the body, obviously something responds, there are triggers and all kinds of stuff, and it's coming back to the same teacher, and the same teacher, what is he doing?
I want to hear your experience with this. I almost want to interview you.
Well, my experience was that I was following a guru which I was not so like, I couldn't be close to that one. I was watching videos, which are basically you're sitting there in silence and you are not allowed to speak. Even you gather with some other friends, but it's not okay to speak. Like it should be silence. You couldn't express or you couldn't share your experience. It's just whole in silence. And yeah, when that, I mean, when the belief in that there was a Luciana driving life was no more there was still a little bit, I would say, not a little, like probably a year, like listening the same stuff and like gathering with the same, doing the same thing, basically, a year. Until it was like very obvious that, okay, thanks, but no thanks. Something like that. Yeah, but I guess for each one is different. Like this happened here.
Yeah. So you had issues in your body too that you would bring up to the teacher, but that particular teacher just said silence only. So you felt like
I couldn't brought that because I was not having a connection. I was trying to bring that in the group, let's say, but there was like, there are rules, like no, here we are sitting and just watching satsangs, and that's all.
Yeah. You know, that reminds me, I kind of used to do meetings a little bit like that, a little bit. There was some of that. And I feel that that's part of the repression. Like when you don't allow people to express their real experience, because if you would allow them to express it, there's so much there to work with. Like if you hold a space in which everything really is allowed, not just service, but like really, if everything really is allowed, then I think we can go deeper. But as a teacher, I don't think we often know what we're doing in that way, is that we're actually silencing people who are already repressed.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's not healthy.
Yeah, not at all. And in a way, when I look back to that, in a way, it's unavoidable. But if there was like a way to avoid that, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah,
I mean, why not?
Right. Well, why not make the silence the foundation, but then open to these things that people do have to address? That's all that I ever say. It's like the silence and the awareness and pointing is great. It's helped a lot of us. We don't want to throw it away.
Yeah.
But something does need to be brought to it, because a lot of us are like this. A lot of us are actually suffering post-awakening in different ways, and we don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I'm noticing this constantly. I don't know if I share, but it doesn't matter, but I will share anyway. I am a guide in the forum who is like, the main goal of the forum is to guide the seeker, so to speak, to see with using the direct pointing or the five senses, that there is no separate self there, which if it is honestly looked, it's seen very soon. Like, you don't have to spend 2-3 years with Ramana Maharshi, who am I? I mean, that's ridiculous. Yeah, when it is looked at honestly, like with curiosity and willingness, it's a matter of, I would say, a days, maybe days, a week, weeks, I don't know. Yeah. But I keep noticing how people, first the initial shift happened and they keep coming and reporting that, oh, the self has back. Oh, there's a sense of me here. I couldn't get rid of that sense of me. What to do?
Right. Yeah. And so to me, it's like what they were saying, in my view, was saying that there's something in my body that it's really unconscious and it keeps coming up and I'm identifying with it. And it kind of goes back down to the body. I think a lot of people experience that. But some people
I think the majority, this is the majority, it's my opinion, of course, but it's the majority.
Yeah, I think so too. Of course, I'm not in those, those organizations, so I can't say the majority. So I listen to people like you who tell me the stories, but it sounds
the majority.
Like, yeah, sounds like it. So yeah, I feel like for the answer for me, I do think the no self investigation is important. Like I really do think it's helpful. At the same time, I was talking to somebody just the other day who came through the non-dual teachings and first studied it a lot, how we do, like our mind studying it, and then picked up the practices, the no self and awareness, recognition, then became interested in trauma work and repression work later. And as they started to embody the recognition, they just lost interest in a lot of that.
Exactly. Exactly.
I wonder if there's something that we're going to learn from that, about that when we actually start to heal, we might be letting go of a lot of the things that we were clinging to in
Yeah.
the
Yeah. I recognize this also in my experience. There was 2 years ago, like such a great passion to talk about that, to speak about that. Like, I mean,
yeah,
without even anyone asking. Uh, and now it's not like that. I mean, if someone out there is not interested, why should I point that there is no one
yeah,
there? It doesn't
right,
make any sense, like any sense.
yeah. And and when I was being pointed to the no self thing, I kind of know now what I was doing is, in a way that I didn't realize, is that there was some sort of mechanism in me that was just keeping anger down with that
Mm,
rest awareness. There was definitely the authentic experience of that opening to no self. That's there. But even with that, there
mm,
was this that was being used by the nervous system to keep anger down unconsciously. And
mm.
then when it would come up, I would just like, okay, just let that be. But I had deep roots of repression, you see, deep roots of repression. So to let that be was really very not skillful, because what I needed to do was go in and bring that out and feel that and acknowledge that.
Mm.
So I never did with the no self realization. That's what I mean. With the no self pointing, I never could do that because you don't go there. Why would you go to deep buried anger?
And it's
Why would
not
that?
very spiritual at all. Like it's
No,
not spiritual.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, um, I have this huge insight while I was watching one of your videos about repressed anger, and you were saying something like, uh, for all those peacemakers out there,
Yeah.
just something clicked very like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, this is what I'm like. I'm a peacemaker. I'm just like the.
Yeah. But
Um,
I think I can get away with it because I was that. I mean,
mm,
that's my ego structure. Because I think if somebody else said that, it would be like, "Who are you telling us?" But like, I know that ego
yeah,
structure.
yeah,
I-
because it's coming from experience, and that's why it's like undeniably
yeah,
true. And
right.
I was start questioning the anger, and some memories from when I was a kid start coming up, like memories, like flashes
Mhm.
of events where I needed to put this anger somewhere, like deeply, deeply, deep. And then I was having the dream, and while during the night, while this dream was like terrible, I was expressing so much anger, and I was almost killed someone, like with this, like it was so mad in a way. And in the morning, what was interesting, in the morning when I wake up, I wanted to share with my beloved, with my husband. I want to share that. The first was like I want to share, and then shame came. I
Oh,
I
yeah.
couldn't, like, oh my goodness, how I will share this with my beloved, that I almost killed someone in
Uh-huh.
my dream. Like I was so cruel, like so there was so much
Mm.
anger, rage. Oh my goodness. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this stuff
That's
is really very deep.
yeah, and that's how it is for people. Even in it's not even their dreams. It's like if if you're in the spiritual path and that comes up for you, you really don't feel necessarily comfortable telling not just your own husband, but people in the spiritual.
No, not at
Right,
all.
right. Because it's considered, oh, that's just your ego. That's just your separate self identity. And that's what kept it all down. Is people telling me that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Sounds like you've had to find some of that too. Or maybe if it wasn't anger, it was something else. But you've done some work like I have to recognize that there's something in your body that just
Yeah,
didn't get.
I just recognize that something is moving, like something wants to come up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much you know about the work we're doing, but for those people who are in like post awakening, we're helping people a lot because of this.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you about that because actually I came across your work of my friend, like someone share with me something or share on Facebook, I don't know. And I know that you are doing inquiries, different types of inquiries. And
Yeah. Yeah. We're doing some good work around that because I had to because of the anger that I necessity. But yeah, now that I've worked with that on myself, we're bringing it to other people. It's not just anger repression. There's trauma, different kinds of things going on for people.
Addiction as well. Addictions. So
Lots.
a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've tied it to the trauma and repression, the addiction, chronic pain. And that's what I'm trying to say is that by not paying attention to this, a lot of us are getting sick. And now we would get sick anyway as humans because humans are unconscious and trauma. But you would think that in the spiritual path, we would hit those issues. That's what I thought when I got here. I thought, well, if there's going to be anything like that, that would be seen through. And then 2 years after the awakening, I got cancer. So,
Wow.
that's, yeah, probably had something to do with the anger repression. But that was the first wake up call right there. That something was, if it was emotional, which I think it was, then something didn't get met.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a friend who shared with me something related with addictions. He said, yeah, I'm aware that there is an addiction going on with smoking, with, let's say, or whatever, drinking. And he said, but it's absolutely impossible to deal with that or to do anything about that. I'm just aware of that, and that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And conditioning or addiction still playing.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I actually agree with him if you don't do somatic work, because what we've learned with the compulsions is right when you have a craving for wine, there's anger and fear and shame and hurt from mom and dad right there, literally body. So the compulsion that comes up, it feels just like a compulsion or energy for that, but it's actually the unprocessed emotion. And if we go right back to mom and dad right there, you will feel the compulsion energy as anger for mom and dad. So if you don't meet that, I don't see how you would drop addictions. Like you can forcefully try to drop them, but your system demands it, in a way because of the unprocessed stuff. That's another thing we're trying to say to people, because another thing happened is a lot of us got into spirituality thinking this was going to be the answer to addiction, to waking up.
Yeah, the answer to all suffering, basically.
Right. And it's one of the answers, it's a piece of it, but there apparently has to be some body work, some somatic work for that particular thing, addiction. Yeah, just recognizing awareness. Now you have awareness with a compulsion. That's what you have.
This is what happened. Yeah. When you mention body work and mind, and I also heard you saying that these are not two. Can you elaborate on that? Like mind and body, they are not two. And usually or often when someone stuck only in mind, like doing inquiries or whatever, or someone else is like only in body work.
Yeah. So
feeling the feelings, let's say, feeling the feelings. Oh, how long shall I feel the feeling, like the sadness? How long? I mean,
yeah, great question. So how I discovered the mind body for myself more was with the chronic pain. So the chronic pain, it shows up as pain as if the body's just producing it, because the mind is totally quiet on the repression. So, but there's a mind body connection that created the anger repression and the pain. But then the mind that represses the anger is very unconscious. So it just gets buried. So there's a mind body connection there we have to be aware of. And then when we cultivate quietness and awareness, we miss that. So that mind body connection is buried in the body. So healing seems to be around making that conscious, because if you just rest with the feeling or the pain, you miss the programming that's going, I can't show anger. I can't, it's not safe. I can't. That's going on the whole time you're resting.
Yeah, sometimes it is hurt. Sometimes it is deeply unconscious, like it's.
Right, deeply unconscious, but it's still there playing on us. So what we've learned is, if you come down and feel something, if it has strong unconscious mind that's hidden, it'll be a struggle, and it'll just seem like it wants to stay there and stay there. So I say that, like, if you just feel something that's actually releasing, that, like, there's really no mind on it, that's different. But if something feels stuck, usually it's because there's programming here that's inseparable from it. It's not like you can take the anger repression and separate it from the thoughts that say I can't show anger. They're literally right there with it. Right. Yeah. Crazy.
Totally. But fun in a way. In a way, it's fun.
Yeah. It makes sense. It all
Absolutely.
makes sense. We had to protect ourselves and we couldn't know about it, you know? It's like we had to protect ourselves and then we had to forget that we did it in a way to stay safe, that we literally cut off emotions in
Yeah,
childhood. Some,
and as if all is built to protect something which is not there in the first place. But anyway, all these programs are there operating.
yeah, and that's crazy because the
That's
trauma
crazy.
comes to protect a self that's not there. And so
Yes.
it becomes the trauma and the repression is the self. It's like that's the self, the one that comes to protect no one. And so that's what we're dealing with is like we're dealing with no one with a lot of self-protective programming because we thought there was somebody there. So we see that there's no self there, but I think that's really our work begins because
Mhm.
then we see it's just programming, but it's buried. And so we bring it into
Yeah.
awareness.
And to be honest, people don't like to hear that. Like
No,
people which I met, and when they hear something like, you see, seeing no self is the first crucial step, but it's first and tiny, and it's of course it's important, but it's not everything. Like there is an
yeah.
opening to a new, and they say, "Oh no, I don't want
Right.
to hear that. I don't want to hear
Right.
that. I don't want to. I don't want to work anymore. Like I don't want
Right.
to deal with shit anymore." No.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is that? It's. I mean, it's. I don't know. Even
I have a
describing why.
theory. I have an idea about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just tell you what I think about it. This may not answer it all, but because in KI, we've discovered like strong programming around contractions and these inner demons that basically say, I don't want to feel that. So it's going on back here when people are saying, yeah, I don't want to wake up and then process more. I don't feel that. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that. It's going on, but they don't see it. So they
Mm-hmm.
might be thinking, well, I just want to awaken to my true nature, right? But what they're saying really is, I want to awaken to my true nature. I don't want to feel that.
Oh my
See?
goodness. Yeah.
And that they're not being honest because it's unconscious. So it comes off as someone who's resistant, I think. It sounds like somebody who's just resistant, but they can't help it in a way because they're not conscious to the fear of feeling those things, it seems.
Yeah. Yeah. As if uh, people are driven by this sincere desire or longing to wake up, and there is something which is constantly pulling back, like, no, 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 it's not safe. That's why fear shows up, like when you're
Yeah,
close to something. Ooh.
definitely. And yeah, that's a hard one on the path, the fear, because it's so scary. It's fear. So I think we just kind of try to stay away from it.
This
Yeah.
is what we like. This is why we the way we stay safe. I mean, so natural. Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
Oh. I had a question, or I have a question about inertia, or how this is showing up after post awakening or after awakening, and there is this like flowing, like I don't know, like what, and I literally lose interest in anything, almost anything, which was like bringing joy here. There was
Yeah.
no interest in going out, in traveling, in meeting, in anything. I was like a prisoner
Mhm. How many
for
years?
almost, I think 3.
Yeah.
Lately, this like the last few months of the last year, or a little bit before that, I start noticing that something is changing.
So when was your shift? And what year? And then how many years after did it start to become like inertia?
Uh, Probably not immediately after the shift, but soon after the shift. Soon.
I experienced the same thing. Yeah.
Same, probably half a year, like few months. There was this honeymoon, like, oh, and then yeah, there was a peace. Of course, there was a peace. I was like untouched, like
Yep. Hmm.
don't I didn't bother with anything.
Yeah.
And
But then you,
thank God I didn't have to go to work, because I couldn't done this work.
right. Same here. For about 3 years, maybe 4, you didn't see a lot of videos from me. And if you would have watched me in my personal life, I was very peaceful, not that many triggers. but there wasn't a lot of joy, and the repression was there, and I didn't know it. And that was the inertia for me. Like there was definitely things I wanted to do, but I couldn't. My body was just,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, there was no energy, like nothing.
Mhm.
And
That was the
it is,
repression for me, you know.
and what happened? How, I don't know, what can I share? What happened here? I don't know, somehow life starts moving. I, I have no answer to that, but
You must have touched into something that was holding you down or something, maybe.
yeah, probably.
Yeah, well, I didn't. I mean, I got into pain before I discovered it. You know, my inertia turned into chronic pain, and then I was kind of forced to look at it in some way. It didn't just happen like that for me, where it just I kicked out of that
Hmm.
pretty deep repression.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Nothing is going on here. I don't know what to ask, but let's see. It's it feels nice to sit like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, something recognizes like the openness, and there is no repressing anything, and there is no showing up because of anything.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's very nice.
That's what we were looking for in the beginning of the path. When we thought that that's what would happen in the beginning. It takes a while for that to sink in. Yeah.
Yeah, I I enjoy so much your short videos as well. These are
Oh, yeah.
such an inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're uploading them in YouTube, and I'm watching them there because I have no
Yeah.
TikTok, but
Right.
I love them.
They're just fun. That's just me having fun, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just enjoying life. There's no more inertia, is what that is. No more inertia. It's just my creativity's back and my fun and my enthusiasm is back. I say it's back, but I don't even remember if it was ever there. Maybe before fourth grade or something, before the trauma. I
Mm.
experienced like that, the way that I experience it now. But for all those years, I haven't experienced that with this kind of freedom. This feels different than even the awakening in some way that I can't explain.
Yeah.
It's different. Yeah. Energetically different. Yeah.
Mm. Nice. What kind of people are coming to KI? Different, probably, with different background. Not only spiritual seekers, I guess.
Well, a lot of them are, seeking healing or awakening. But there's a group of people which has been great to watch is they watch my YouTube videos and they discover that there's this third dimension work and they come into the training and that's all that I want is that because they've like you and me, they've had awakenings or shifts and they've just been, you know, dealing with that, the stuff that
Mm.
happens. So when they hear about something that gets to trauma, they just want to go straight for it and they don't have a lot of resistance to it
Mm.
and they go for it and it's amazing to watch. And then there are some people who would like to be able to meet the work that way, but there's just a lot of resistance. And there's that group of people which they want that freedom, but their system is still
Yeah.
shutting them
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
I was having a chat today with a friend, and I mentioned that I'm going to record a video with you, and I'm so excited. And and she just said, "Oh, I know this guy. He's suggesting so much work."
Right. Yeah.
Oh, isn't it sweet?
Well, can I say something about that? Because the way that I see it from presence is that it's not like that. It's not like a lot of work because that's again the story. That's I think the benefit of seeing no self is
Mm.
that sense of time where oh I have all this work to do is not there.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
it's just here, presence here. We have some tools here to look here. See, but when you're still living in time, you know how it is. It's like, oh gosh, that's going to take forever. And I just translate that as I don't really want to feel that. And that's really what they're saying, because isn't that really what we're saying? Because if we process it, we don't have to feel something. I think that's what it is. I think it's a combination of we think of ourselves in time and we don't want to feel things. So basically, when someone like me says, let's go process the stuff, they're like, no, I live in time. And that sounds like too much time. See, there. And you know, whatever else they say about it. But if they understood what I'm saying, is I'm saying right here, you're not that story. Right here, the awakeness is, if you can see that it's here, now you're going to do all your work from here. And it's not about getting there.
It doesn't feel like work. Yeah, it doesn't feel like work.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was nice. You also mentioned somewhere, I'm just keep quoting, like trying to quote you. You also mentioned somewhere in your videos, or I don't know, maybe somewhere in quotes, that anger is finding its way out, and sometimes it can be like a disease or something, chronic pain or whatever. Sometimes go to a sexual fantasy. Can you say something about that?
Well, you know, if you study the research, what they're saying essentially that repression, and especially anger repression, is behind addiction, if that's what you mean. So what we're finding, if you look at the research, is the repression and trauma is behind a lot. Not everything, but it's behind. So I don't know what your question was. I want to make sure I answer your question.
How anger is related with sexual repression, fantasy repression, or whatever, like anger and sexual. You could say freedom or expression, the freedom to express yourself sexually as well.
Yeah.
The way you are, like not the way society is supposed for you to be.
That's really a good question, because what we're finding is that, like, when people are feeling compulsive about something, again, there's anger and fear and hurt in the compulsion. But where is it coming from? It's mom and dad. So basically, we couldn't be ourselves. We couldn't feel and express what was natural for us as a kid. So the anger that we couldn't express, for example, is stored in the body. It has nowhere to go. And then we discover addictions, and now the addictions work to keep the anger down. But if we don't see that that's actually anger and fear in our compulsion, we'll just keep missing it. But we've actually linked it up here. Like, you can actually see that the compulsion is the anger.
Yeah.
It's the anger repression. It's like in this work, it's not even intellectual now. It's like, we'll show it to you. It's like, here's the compulsion. That same energy you'll see is the anger. When you do the right inquiry, you'll see it. That's how we're showing people. Because otherwise you have to just like point them to the science, and then they read the science and they go, okay, that's fine. How does that help me?
Yeah, but that's not enough, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. But we want to help you see it like in real time. It's right here. That compulsion is your anger from mom and dad, because you couldn't feel and express something about yourself, including anger. If you couldn't feel and express something else about yourself, you might be angry about that. So in other words, if you had a certain way about you that your dad stuffed down, but you couldn't get angry, then that way about you that got shoved down, there's anger with that too. Because anytime anybody tells us to not be ourselves, it's actually natural to say, fuck off.
Exactly. Yeah.
Really, if we're clear, but we're not when we're kids. And so we just go, and we conform and submit to that. And so now we have a lifetime of stored anger. And it shows up as chronic pain, addiction, and mental health. But it's not really about those things. It seems to be about mom and dad and trauma. Unprocessed emotions from dad telling you that you can't be yourself in some way. Yeah.
There is some kind of a one with all of that. I don't know. One excitement. Like someone asked me the other day, where is the end? Like, I thought that there is an end of this. What is it's obviously the end is not close, but how far is the end? And I was like, well, I wish I know.
Right, but the end of what? See, that's why
Yeah,
I have to
exactly.
what? Because if you ask people and you really ask them, they'll say, I'll say, okay, the end of what? And it boils down to they don't want to feel something. At the end of feeling something,
Hmm.
if you ask them, and if you, but they not say it that way until you ask them, inquire. In other words, the end of what? What will end? They'll say thinking, but not
Hmm.
really, because if thinking without energy on it is not really a problem. If you sit and think
Exactly.
about Mickey
Right.
Mouse all day, you're not suffering. So it's not just thinking, and then I'll say, okay, but what is it then? Well, when I think about certain things, I feel this way. That's it.
Hmm.
That's it. That's why you're looking for the end. But that reinforces repression. Is what I say. Looking for the end in spiritual path reinforces that I don't want to feel this. So that programming is that. It's like,
Yeah.
where's the end? I don't have to feel this. Show me the end. That's how I see it.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Like it rings very true. Like it's
Yeah.
all here, not there, somewhere in some end. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to look for there where I don't have to feel this. The end of this.
Hmm.
Which is a lot like saying, I just want to stuff this down. I don't want to feel this. Because if you actually started to feel it, you wouldn't look for the end anymore. If you started to really allow everything, your end would go away, I think. It's the fact that we don't allow everything that I think unconsciously that we look for an end.
Hmm.
Because whatever we're allowing is the thing that's really painful. And that's what we're trying to get away from.
Yeah, what a game we are playing.
Yeah, it is. It's nice.
I mean that I think resistance is like the the I don't know, the worst, the powerful, or like this resistance to almost anything, which probably is the root, like you said, it's like I'm resisting to not feeling
Yeah.
certain things.
Survive.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like survival, I think, to people on some level. And that's the thing I think is helpful to understand is like, if I have to hold back an emotion, I'm doing that to survive, to that child conditioning. And if people can understand that, then they can understand the resistance more. If you understand that your fear of death is connected to feeling and expressing something,
Mm.
see, that's the other thing is that people don't see. Because if you deal with the fear of death in a global sense, like the self, well, there isn't one. And so there's no self that's going to die, but there's programming
Mm.
around certain emotions, very strong selfing programming that we're discovering, like, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel this. And the transmuting of that feels like death at a real somatic level. I think that's why people are scared of it, is because it could feel like a death. But at the same time, they'll say, well, I want to be interested in non-duality where I see beyond the separate self. Well, there isn't one. And you're going to learn that there is one. That's what you're going to discover. So what is it that's going to die? Nothing, but your programming will feel like death when you start to express or feel something that you don't want to feel. It'll feel like really, really unsafe. And I think that's also what's scaring people, even though they don't verbalize it. They're afraid, they don't know why. It feels like a death.
Yeah, literally that.
Yeah.
But yet people are drawn to that, like non-duality. Wow, everything is happening on its own. Like there is no one doing anything. It sounds like a fairy tale.
Right. Yeah.
So good. I mean, I'm not responsible. Wow, yay. Oh my goodness. Yeah, in an ultimate sense, I'm not responsible. Yeah, there is a responsibility happens, like I'm taking care of whatever.
Yeah.
Mm. So you are not doing meetings, or you are doing meetings in the area of members?
Yeah, the
How?
members area. We have a members area where I do most of my meetings there. So I do about 3 a week there. But Dan and I, Dan and Quinta, we co-developed the work. We're working on just some workshops because we've enjoyed that, just going out to like different cities and just sitting down for 3 people and just showing them this work. That's fun too.
Oh, that's amazing. Probably
Yeah.
you're traveling only in United States for now.
Yeah, for now, but we'd be open. I mean, Dan's never been overseas, I don't think. So I have to give talks over there, but I think he wants to. So we'd love to be invited somewhere over there. But yeah, just the States.
Sounds nice. I'm keen to make a not a comparison, but let's say to say how spirituality is, or this inner work is going on here in my country. So there are, on the top of the spirituality, still this new age thing like affirmations or chakras or what else? What else is there? I don't know. Inner work, family constellation, astrology, like, and just I don't know if there are some people who are speaking openly like that. Probably not, but probably it's the same, like not only in my country.
Yeah, I mean, people are not flocking to this work. They're not flocking here. You know, this work is definitely growing. People are interested in it, but I think it's still a lot. Somebody said recently that maybe 20 or 30% of people have no interest in like deep work at all. I don't know what the number is, but this is not something, speaking of those people that would be talking about that, if we're resistant to this, there's no way that would attract people because of the subject matter.
Yeah, probably some of the people who are watching this channel, they will say like, yeah.
But you know what I say is like,
I guess, I don't know. I'm not, there is no worry about that, but yeah.
no, not at all. Especially if they're not suffering. If you're not suffering, great. But you know, if you're suffering and then you say that, it's almost like arguing in favor of it. Like I want to continue suffering. You know, but if you're not suffering, I understand why you wouldn't be drawn to something like this.
Yeah, if your life is like on the relative level is okay for now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. Right.
It's not at any cost. Nothing is at any cost. Like, and if I learn something, which I'm not sure I did, I don't know if I learned something, but if there is something which I learned, is like that you can't bring people like you can't force people. They're like, there should be from within. You can tell stories, you can tell anything, but if
you can't.
No, you can. If it is not knocking on their door,
It can actually be painful if you try to do that. And if you're not clear and you actually have a around it, it can be painful when you realize that, because I've done that to people in my relationships before.
Oh.
Yeah, and I learned that energetically is not correct to do that to somebody. Actually, the way I see it, to try to force upon somebody something is the way I see it from now. Because you probably do too. You got interested in awakening for reasons that were just very personal for you. And nobody could have done that for you, and me either. Nobody did. So nobody could make me do it, and nobody could make me stop. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
When I'm looking, you can't get me to stop either. If I'm on it, if I'm doing this, I'm doing it. And if you have that about you, that way about you, you're gonna find the freedom and the healing if you really have that way. But if you don't, and you don't have that earnestness, it'll be a struggle, probably. You know, if you just continue resisting.
Yeah, we learn it somehow. Yeah. To not speak to anyone without asking.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm. It really feels nice.
Yeah.
And in the background, there are some thoughts which are not so noise like they're like say something, say something.
Well, the only thought that came up for me was like, I like your earrings. That's the only thought that came up. I was like, oh, I really like those.
Yeah, these are new.
Mhm.
I like them too. Mm. I like your expression session a lot. Yeah.
Thank you.
I show it to my partner and we watch them like both of us. And I'm so thrilled by both masculine and feminine energy which are playing there. It's amazing. Like it's
Yeah,
amazing.
it feels really natural, actually.
It is, yeah. That's why it looks like that, because it is.
Yeah, it really is. And it wasn't always natural, as you know.
Mm.
So, yeah. Still working with that a little bit. That's a deep repression. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to show that. And yeah, I just admire that.
Thank you.
Now I know why I stopped doing all these videos before. Like, no, that I'm not regretting anything, but I know. It's very superficial, although it's
Yeah.
like all the sharings were so sincere and so beautiful and so natural. But I also notice how many people are like they are trying to grasp what is being said there, and it's like it becomes important. Someone else's experience is more important than what's happening here, and all the time there is this comparison. Like, but that one says that when this happened, he or she felt something like, and I have noticed how it's this misleading.
Yeah. And something comes up when we do like the deeper somatic work where you really do have to trust your own experience completely. And like if you give your power away to other people like that, it's very difficult to heal. In the end, you might want to feel safe to like be with somebody who will guide you. But in the end, if you keep looking for other people, it's like you're literally ignoring your own experience. And when
Exactly.
it comes to the somatic work, the more you ignore your experience, the more you just miss all that's going on in the body, I think. So that's an interesting dynamic that I've talked about, like the teacher-student relationship. I mean, I know that there are devotional paths that are very powerful, and yeah, but for the rest of us, I think we have to work towards recognizing that this is all about us. Like this is really our own experience completely, 100%.
Hmm.
And that's where the healing comes from. So that's what I have to say about that, and why I moved away from teaching that way, because people would look at me like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so what I just did with the inquiry is I no, go back to it has to be about your experience completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as if people are putting you on a pedestal, like you are something which has some experiences and whatever. Yeah.
Either way, excessive praise or excessive criticism is usually trauma. Any kind of thing like that, where you're focusing on me too much, tells me you're not looking probably at your own experience. It's not just the praise; it's the people that get a lot of people get triggered at me too because I'm talking about the subject. But to me, that's still you're not trusting your own experience. Everybody gets triggered, but there's something in you going on that I pushed a button on. And
Hmm.
again, whether you're praising me or criticizing me, are you trusting your experience?
Yeah. Yeah, when you say criticizing or praising and something else came, there is this freedom which I notice in your expression, like freedom to criticize without saying, like without being rude, or I don't know, there is this from society, like don't criticize anyone, it's so
Yeah.
bad, like don't do that. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, why he's doing that?
Uh-huh.
Actually, you can say something, of course.
Well, yeah. The thing is that people,
But not everyone can say. I mean, everyone can, but at the same time, there is a repression, and you can't say anything. You
that's it.
prefer to be quiet.
Right. So people don't understand is that my whole life, I didn't judge and complain. Before I got to non-duality, that was already stuck down. I won awards in high school for the mental attitude in sports because I didn't complain or judge or blame anything for anybody for anything. That's anger repression, is what
Yeah.
that is. That is not clarity. And so when I came here, I just heard that message and all that got stuffed down. So in reversing the anger, the last thing I'm going to do is be quiet around my discernment. That'll be the last thing I'm going to do at this point. After years of doing that and getting really sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not going to be mean. I don't name teachers personally. It's not personal. I'm just trying to help people who got lost, like I got lost in a way.
Yeah, but yeah, when it taken to be personal, because the experience is personal, and that's why people are offended by certain type of
You know?
speaking. They're
Yeah.
just yeah, they're just it's from here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tricky being a teacher. I'm sure you've done a little bit of it, haven't you? And you've just,
No,
yeah.
I'm just a guide. No,
Oh,
no, no.
smart.
But it's a tricky. Yeah, it can
Yeah.
become. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like the like the word friend resonates a lot with me. Like friend or
Yeah.
a mirror, just like a mirror to reflect.
Yeah. Because this work was developed with two friends, like Dan and I. And he would treat me as a teacher at first, but within a few weeks, he saw my subversive nature. I have a very subversive nature to me. And he just like, it shattered everything. And so we just became friends. And there was something in that the work got developed in that friendship where we were both mirrors that couldn't have happened if I was trying to be the teacher there. Yeah.
Right.
Because he helped me as much as I helped him. And I couldn't have been helped if I would have been playing that role there. See, that's the problem with being a teacher sometimes. It's like being a doctor. You're kind of the worst patient sometimes. And if you really think you are a teacher, and then they can shut down around investigating. But having a friend where you're not teaching them, they're just your friend, they love you, is different. And you can just open to them, whether you're a teacher or not. Like that was so valuable to my life, meeting somebody that didn't treat me like a teacher. And we just had that connection. It's a lifelong friendship. And great work came out of it. So yeah, I encourage that with everybody. Find your friends, find the mirrors. And in the members area, we say that find your peer support, find people that you can just sit with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. This resonates deeply here. Yeah, because there is no need to pretend that we are alone, because we are not. Like no one is. Like
no. And you know what? It's helped me to explain my own suffering so that I can feel a part of my own community. Because as a teacher, if you lie
I
or
like
you
that.
don't share, it's like you have to put on this facade like you guys are, I don't have any of that. But if as I've been able to be honest about my anger repression, it's drawn the community closer and be able to talk about my stuff because they see the clarity in me, but they also know that there are issues that I'm earnestly working out so that I don't come off as like, and that helps the whole community somehow, I think, where we're all kind of students or we're not, in the end, we're all using the work.
Yeah,
That's,
we are
yeah,
sitting on the same table.
yeah, right.
Beautiful. Beautiful. This is also my feeling, and this was the missing point when I start following that guru and we start gathering as a sangha. This was the missing point. Like there was something wrong. I knew it. Like I deeply knew it that there is something wrong. Why should we praise someone and we didn't like it wasn't allowed to share our experience. That was not right. But
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of a family where the little child can't say anything because dad's in the house.
yes.
But you know what? In defense of the teacher, I know that why the teachers do that. One, I think, is because maybe they aren't trauma informed. They don't understand the family dynamic that shows up in their sets. They don't just understand the mom and dad thing and how we might buy into that. Like, here's a figure, an authority that's going to look like a lot like dad, and they're going to be very loving and accepting, which is what dad wasn't, our mom wasn't. So we're willing to put up with a lot in that because we think that that's the answer. Like they're the person who is going to give us what we couldn't get. So we project a lot onto them and we put up with a lot because we lie to ourselves when we see things. We just dismiss them because we don't want to see that they are like our dad, our mother. We don't want to see that. And as soon as we see that, it's over. We're going to tear that person down. See, that's the other thing with trauma. You have to be careful because as soon as you start praising somebody, right around the corner is the trauma. And it's really all in us. You see, it's not it's our responsibility to, when we go to those teachings, to say, I've got trauma that's unresolved. I'm looking at you as a father figure almost, like make it conscious. And if the teacher could say, well, I'm actually seeing you as a child. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, can we just talk about the dynamic that's already here for these people? And then in what ways is this teacher student thing reinforcing that family dynamic? And then in what ways am I reinforcing things from your childhood? You know, like whatever that would be. So if I had a childhood in which I couldn't speak, now I'm with the teacher when I can't speak. How does that not reinforce repression?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how many people are aware of that? Start following certain teachers, or I guess not many. I guess not many.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of it. I wasn't aware of it as a student, how I was like trauma bonding with people. And I wasn't aware of it as a teacher, how I was doing it. You see, that's what I think it is they're just not aware of it or something. Because if you were aware that what you were doing with somebody was teaching them that their expression is something wrong with it, you wouldn't do that. If you actually understood that that's what parents do, you know what I mean? You wouldn't do that if you really understood it, would you? Wouldn't you point to allowing that child to finally speak and feel and hold the space for all of that? Isn't that the answer? I think. Like to still point, but don't point in a way that is repressive to that child, to that person. Like still point, like be a teacher, but don't do it in a way that reinforces the trauma. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but if the teacher is not aware of that, it's not possible to point in this way that you suggested. Like it's not.
No. And so that's the thing is I think that everybody who kind of, I don't know, you can tell me about yourself, but when you really start to trust your own experience, you start to question some of those bonds with teachers.
Of course, yeah. This was the first thing.
Yeah.
Like there was clear seeing that the authority which I was thinking is not there. I mean, there was like a gratitude, or there was this, gratitude was there, but like this was the truth. This is the truth. And I know because I experienced that. Like it's undeniable.
Yeah. And everybody ends up there where they trust their experience. So why don't we just like help people get there quicker, I think, instead of, like it's going to end up there.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, but I remember clearly an event where I expressed that, and I was just saying that I don't see that as an authority or as something like, and there were friends from the Sangha who were like, "Oh no, no, that's not possible." Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Again, funny games.
You really get it. I really enjoy this just to sit and talk to you. It's
The pleasure is so mine. I'm just so thrilled to be able to speak with you.
Yeah, it's really nice when somebody who's been on the path a while interviews me, because sometimes people interview me and they're a little bit earlier in their path or something, and so they can't talk to me like this, which is really nice because I think it's going to be good for people to hear both of us kind of having similar experiences.
Yeah. And maybe something will click and
Yeah,
resonate. And
never know.
well, I guess we can leave it like that if you want to. You have, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes before your next meeting. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I've got.
Is it?
It's up to you.
I
I'm
don't
not
know. I'm
doing.
fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm just very, yeah. It's a pleasure. It's the joy. Like this is the joy which we are speaking about.
Yeah,
Forget about peace. Like peace is okay, but what about joy? I
yeah.
mean, where's the joy in all of that?
But yeah, you know what? The thing is like I know that there are certain people who be like, well, I want the peace too. Like, and sometimes when we have the peace, we might take it a little bit for granted because there is a lot of peace in the realization. And I understand why people want that. But yeah, the joy. Where's the life force? Where's the enthusiasm? Where's the fun? Where is the aliveness? If the realization doesn't give me that, why would I be interested in that?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
that's what's available to us, I think. But we just settle for peace.
And nothing else. Like peace and
Nothing else.
nothing else.
Peace.
Yeah. Definitely joy was missing. And I was like, joy is my second name, like and joy. This is
Yeah.
joy. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Joy never felt safe for me, frankly.
safe, you said.
Joy did not feel safe because of my trauma. That's another thing that was confusing to me when I got to the non-dual teachings because they were saying, once you awaken to your joy, and there was at first,
Uh-huh.
and then it just sort of slowly, like a light, just sort of
Mm,
slowly dimmed or something into peace
mm,
until I came back and did the body work. But yeah, and then the body work, I discovered that I had to shut the joy down because in the bullying, the joy was too much, too close to the thing that they were bullying me on.
mm.
So if I showed joy, that was too close to being like a girly boy, you know? Anything that was joyful and light and creative and fun or feminine was attacked. So my joy just got shut down.
Yeah, because it was safe.
Yeah,
It's for safety.
right. Along with
Mm.
my and other things.
Wow. Yeah, like images of me being angry at my brother came now like very vivid.
Mm-hmm.
And when my parents and my grandmother and grandfather was telling me, how could you? You are a girl, shame on you.
Oh yeah,
To be
that'll leave a
like,
lasting print. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And this is
yeah,
how anger came locked.
yeah. Through the shame, was there shame in that too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I also remember a story when I was at school and something happened. I couldn't remember what happened. Probably someone provoked me in a way, I don't know. And then I was I was at the school with a new umbrella because it was raining, and I started to punish him with umbrella. And I came
Yeah.
home, and the umbrella was like broken. And my mom, instead of asking me what happened and like what happened that I needed to protect myself, she said to me, "How could you break the umbrella?"
Not how are you? But
No, no, and very soon I said that if like, do you remember that? And I said, but I repressed my anger there. She said, come on.
well, you apparently didn't repress your anger on the bull with the person with the
That was,
umbrella.
yeah, there was no repressed anger. But when I came home and together with the other events, like this is how I suppressed anger, because there was like, how could you broke the new umbrella? You are a girl, shame on you.
Yeah.
You couldn't be like that. It's not appropriate. Like it's awful.
Yeah, I don't think parents realize that when they say just one thing like that, the lasting imprint
Yes.
that it makes in your system.
Yeah.
Just one thing
No,
like that.
no. Definitely they don't realize. We
Yeah.
don't realize anything. Yeah.
Mm.
I'm laughing now, but yeah, it is. It's not funny, you know. Now it's
Oh,
funny. Now it's funny, a little bit funny. But strangely, how this image appeared here while we're speaking.
mm.
A little angry girl.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't get angry when I was a kid. So when I think back the memories, it was like when I was being bullied, it was, I don't even remember any anger at all. I couldn't even fight back.
Hmm.
And it is funny now, but it never was before. But it's funny as you release it more, you can see there's insight and kind of, you know what I mean, lightness to it now.
Yeah, there
But
is a lightness,
yeah.
and you can laugh at that because, yeah.
Mhm. But you know, not when it was creating so much pain. I wasn't laughing, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, also something related with anger that I think you were saying something, and it again it clicked that if you are expressing anger, you are triggered by someone who is expressing really that. And I just notice how I'm just, whoo.
Say that again. I don't know if I understood what. Say that one more time.
If you are repressing anger, you are very easily triggered by if someone expressing anger out there freely. You
Yeah.
get triggered,
Yeah.
and you are claiming like, no, it's not good. Shame on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look
So
at
you
that guy. Look at that guy. How
yeah.
how freely expressing anger here.
Yeah. So you catch on to that, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
people who haven't reversed and really dealt with the anger repression, they don't realize it. And they don't just realize it, that that's their anger repression that they're reacting from. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm doing with all those years is a kind of a self-righteous stance in a way. It's like, I don't have it.
Yeah. And
You
they
have
also they shouldn't have it. It's bad.
it. Right. And it's bad in me, but I don't have it. You know, it's like,
I don't
but,
behave like that. I don't behave like that.
right.
And they shouldn't behave like that as well because it's not appropriate. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's the message that I got in spirituality, right? That's the message I got all my life. But I did get that message in spirituality too.
Yeah.
That, well, basically, meaning there was nobody saying, nobody that I remember saying, hey, this is a healthy expression of anger.
Mm.
I don't know anybody saying that there's even such thing as a healthy expression of anger. Not even one person.
Yeah, as if these two words are absolutely not like healthy and anger. It's like,
Yeah.
no way.
Right. Well, there might have been one person somewhere who said something about, I want to be honest, but you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a subject that's not talked about.
Yeah, and
Here's the other
spirituality.
thing.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, here's the other thing is what we're now discovering is that it's not just anger repression. There's a lot of us in spirituality. You can imagine why is that we repressed anger as a kid, and then now we found our way to spirituality because the peace, love, and light. See, that helps keep the
Yeah.
anger down. So there's a lot of people, I think, but what I've been surprised to find out, and I guess pleasantly surprised because I thought the world was just made of anger repressors, is that there are other repressions, and I'm learning about those folks now, and they have a unique experience too. It's very different than mine. Um, like people who repress sadness very deeply, show up as angry and being misunderstood by people because they can't touch the sadness, so they're quicker to anger because anger feels safer than the sadness, and then they get misled as an angry person. But if you talk to them, that's not the issue. The issue is that they can't touch the grief,
Wow.
and a lot of them are like that. And I've learned about that, and it's helped me in my own relationships to understand who I'm in a relationship with, like their nervous system. Because I think before I understood all this, I thought that angry people were just angry, like they had an anger problem. Like if you're angry a lot, that's your issue. You're angry.
Yeah, but it's not like that. It's not necessarily like that. Also, something came now. I don't have problem being sad. Like I can be sad anytime.
Yeah, well, me
But
too. I can,
yeah, probably because I repress anger.
right, me too. Exactly.
It's more safe to be sad than angry. Like to be
Yeah,
sad
for us, yeah. But for the sadness repressors, it's the opposite. And
It's the
that's,
opposite. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just like you. So all those years of non-dual investigation, investigating the separate self, I just didn't notice that largely the anger was repressed in those triggers. Largely, there was anger there, but it was easier to get to the sadness and hurt. And I didn't realize that all those years that I was kind of just playing it safe in a way. I was like, just, it needed to happen, that investigation, but I didn't realize that by focusing on that, I didn't have to feel the anger. And if I would have known that, I would have done the path differently, I think. I think I would have gone back and said, well, look, if this repression is part of that trigger, I need to deal with that. I don't need to just be pretending like it's not there and going for safe emotions. But again, nobody tells you that when you get here.
We are like moving as if we are blind, or like trying this, trying that. And
can I tell you another thing that we're discovering is, and this is somewhat controversial, but because we're doing the kind of somatic work where we can see the conditioning of the ego, like the deep unconscious stuff, like the stuff that's basically saying, don't share this, don't feel that, like the stuff that you never hear, you just react from it. And we're discovering that at that level, the identity is simply safer than the repression. And so what we're finding is that we're in non-duality people, where teachers have been pointing people to look at the self as if that's the core thing. But we're finding that in somatic work, people go to the self for safety.
Yeah.
So they don't want to feel the rage. And so they go into, I'm a victim right there as an identity. And at first we didn't understand what that was until we saw that once we started helping them see that as a bypass from the anger, then we'd pull them back to the anger, then they would process the anger. And guess what? That stopped showing up, the victim, because that was a product of that. I did not know that for the first 13 years, 14 years of teaching. I didn't understand that there's something with it. I thought that that was it. Identity is the core.
Yeah. It's just the surface.
Yeah. Yeah, but it explains my bypassing because I was focusing on identity and I missed anger. Yeah. That's the thing that's triggering people more than anything right now, that what I just said. But I'm just going to keep saying it and see if it sinks in for certain people. Because once it sinks in your experience, I think it's different. But when you hear it and you haven't gotten the experience of that, it can trigger you because it fucks with your paradigm, excuse my language. But you see what right. But anything that messes with our paradigm is good, because then we're holding on to that for fear. Like anything that can be messed with ought to be, because it's not actually real. It's not, we're holding on to it. So that's what I say to people. Really, you can't go wrong here, because if you're threatened by what I'm talking about, it's probably just some response in your body that you have to be with. Like, like, I don't know how to say it.
And
right?
probably there are people who are keep watching you and get triggered by what you said.
Yeah.
Something is driven people again back.
Oh yeah.
Something belongs to.
I got some nasty emails recently. Yeah.
Wow.
But I understand where it's coming from. I get it.
Yeah. I don't know, I wish that anyone can experience joy in the way.
Yeah. That's the thing.
I just wish that.
That's the thing too, is I want to talk about, thank you, is the joy conversation sometimes upsets people a little bit because it creates a carrot. But the thing is, what I say to people is like, we might need a carrot for the joy because we've stuffed it down. So let's hold this carrot up here and bring that out. You know, that's, I don't know how else to say it, because if we call everything a carrot, everything is a carrot. The potential is a carrot. Don't talk about the you know, yeah, I think in some ways
Yes.
we might rob ourselves of the fruits of realization. Like I don't know what I'm saying about this or how this resonates with you, but you know what I mean?
No,
Like
it resonates.
if
Yeah.
everything is just, don't talk about that, that's a concept. Don't talk
Don't
about
talk
that.
about it's the concept.
Don't,
Yeah.
that's a
That's a
concept.
carrot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So probably this, like to end with joy is a good carrot.
I think it's an
There,
okay carrot.
yeah, there is a joy, a lot of joy for all of us.
Yeah.
It's not only for some of us, it's for all of us.
Yeah. And I've been saying, if you wonder where your joy is, well, I don't know because I don't know you, where you are, but chances are it's with your buried rage or fear or hurt. That's probably where it is. If there was trauma. And that's another thing, nobody told me that. See, so that's why I keep saying it in interviews and videos so that people will hear it, because nobody's saying it to you. And you're expecting joy to just show up from the presence work without any feeling stuff, you know.
Mm.
And that's where, so I like to say it because other people aren't. Your joy is buried in your body, in case you're wondering.
I like that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to end.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you for having.
oh, thank you for accepting again. I'm so happy. I'm so thrilled, happy, and oh.
Awesome. Good to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. Likewise.
Thank you.